Welcome back to Behind the Food podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Feeman, along with my co-host, Daniel Yarzagura. Today we have Mary. Dang it, how do I pronounce your last name?
Senese.
Senese. I'm keeping that in. Mary Senese is with us. I just don't like when people mispronounce last names. Mary is the founder of Roni's Mac and Cheese Bar. And you are also the founder of a cookie dough brand.
Yeah.
Place.
Do Re Mi is what it is.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on with us today. I guess like the whole purpose of this podcast, for anyone that's never listened before, is for us to interview different founders in the food system, whether they're a restaurateur or a food trucker or a farmer or a CPG founder, and just learn a little bit about their journey so we can kind of pass on to you how maybe you could get started doing the same sort of thing. So Mary, why don't you tell us how you got started with your first food business and then kind of what motivated you to start it in the first place?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I know, Jimmy, a little bit about your story. I don't know too much about Daniel's, but similar to you, I went to Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee, graduated December of 2019, and pretty much immediately moved here to Texas, where I live now. And honestly was struggling to get a job. And it was right around, early 2020. So COVID was starting to pop up as well. So I was familiar with Jimmy's brand, No Baked in Nashville, and also Dough in New York City and a couple others. And really I've always loved anything sweet, anything dessert related. And was looking for a way to make some, cash just like out of my house while applying for jobs. And so I started selling cookie dough to the few family and friends that would buy it. So that's pretty much where I got my start, was really through that cookie dough company, Do Re Mi. So ran that out of my house for a while. A couple months after I started it, I had a local news segment air. I want to say maybe May of 2020. And that kind of is sort of what kickstarted things for that business. I remember going from like virtually no orders to literally waking up the morning that they aired it to my phone pinging with orders.
Nice.
And looked at my husband and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make all this. Because I went from like a couple orders a week to like, I don't know the number, maybe, 100 orders that day, and was just working out of my KitchenAid, in my home kitchen.
Whoa.
So spent the next, day and a half just making cookie dough. And then the next day and a half after that, delivering cookie dough, across town. So that really kickstarted things with Do Re Mi. We ended up opening our first storefront in a town called Belton, Texas. It's a pretty small town, but there is a university there, University of Mary Hardin Baylor. So we opened that in March of 21. So about a year after I started doing it out of my house. And a few months later, opened our second storefront in Waco, Texas, in a food hall. And
Nice.
That location was kind of a game changer. The Belton location did not do well sales wise, but it was a really good stepping stone and a very necessary step to being able to open our Waco location. And really, opening in Waco is kind of where Roni's Mac Bar, what I have now, comes into the picture, because we, like I said, opened in a food hall and we had an empty stall right next to us and just sort of joked back and forth for months about opening something there. And one day decided, hey, let's actually do it. And came up with this like build your own mac and cheese concept. And I think we came up with the idea mid-December of 21, and our first day operational was February 1st, 22,
Wow.
a month and a half later.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's where we're at now. We're really focusing on Roni's, and that's kind of where all of our energy goes. And we're loving it, growing fast. So
Nice. How many locations does Roni's have now?
So we just opened our 9th location. We're opening number 10 next month.
Let's go. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
That is super cool. So I guess like going back to like Do Re Mi and like the very, very beginning, um, would you say that like, I mean, obviously the catalyst was you're like, I need to make some extra money. I'm applying for jobs. I'm gonna do this out of my house.
Yeah.
But would you say that there was like, was the inflection point really like that news article? And then like, what was the first thing that made you really say like, we should take this to like a brick and mortar store? And also why?
Yeah.
Like there's so many different ways to do formats of food. Why did you choose to do a brick and mortar store? Why didn't you do a food truck? Why didn't you do like, I guess like packaged jars like a lot of people do? Like what made you like attracted to like the restaurant thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. And honestly, we ended up, kind of dabbling in a lot of areas. We never did a food truck, but we did like nationwide shipping eventually, some wholesale, but mostly the brick and mortar. I think it's really like my husband and I both had experience in restaurants. And so we were very familiar with the brick and mortar setup. Anything else was like brand new and terrifying. Like we tried to get into, grocery at one point or e-commerce, and that was a huge learning curve anytime we dipped our toes in something else. But brick and mortar was, I guess, where we were comfortable and familiar. So it just kind of made sense that that would be the first thing that we went into.
That's cool. And then obviously that's led you to do like other concepts. Like it sounds like Roni's is killing it. What lessons did you learn from Do Re Mi that you think translated to Roni's and like all the success you guys are having now?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I think Do Re Mi, what's the phrase? Like Do Re Mi walked so Roni's could run, essentially. Which we don't own Do Re Mi anymore. We ended up selling it about a year and a half ago, really because we saw that we were able to take the lessons that we learned from Do Re Mi and apply those to Roni's. So I've always said, like with Do Re Mi, we had to put a lot of effort into something to see a little result. And with Roni's, it's like we barely touch something and it explodes. So I think just I mean, they are fairly different, but at the same time, they're both food. In our case, they're both like brick and mortar. So there's a lot of lessons we learned, even with just like hiring employees or how to deal with customers. Marketing was a huge thing for us. So kind of every area. And thankfully we were able to test it on something as easy as Do Re Mi. It was a pretty simple operation compared to like a full-on restaurant. So we were able to kind of learn with that and then create something like Roni's where it's just kind of exploded from the get-go.
Yeah, that's super cool. Daniel, that's similar to what you're doing right now.
Literally, yeah. So I kind of have a similar story. We started with an empanada truck and then just kind of saw a market gap in the food trucking space here where there wasn't any pizza trucks. So we launched a pizza brand and we went from 1 truck to 3 trucks in about 6 months. So
oh wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy. But yeah, similar story where we kind of took the lessons we learned from concept 1 and allowed to really accelerate concept 2, because without all that learning from concept 1, we would have never been able to go as fast as we did with the pizza concept. So that's really interesting. I did have one question for you because I always love this question. Did you have any operational horror stories where things just went horribly wrong and, kind of pulling back the curtain on what actually happens behind the scenes in a food business, a food brand that most people would never know about unless they're a founder?
Oh my gosh. Well, there's so many stories, like even just in day to day. I think the biggest thing for us really was our whole beginning with Roni's. As much as we had some, practice with Do Re Mi, or like we both worked in restaurants, we really didn't know what we were doing when it came to opening our own restaurant. And, my husband and I, neither of us are chefs. So literally, like, I think, and like I said, it was a very quick process. We had 1 day of testing recipes and it was just us at our home kitchen, Googling 20 different mac and cheese recipes and testing them to see which one we like the best, and then kind of like pulling from different areas. Another example is we didn't plug in any of our equipment until the first day that we opened, and we were like, oh, we should probably make sure that this works. So incredible. In the beginning, I think there was so many examples like that where thank goodness it worked out. But
it could have gone horribly wrong.
Really gone south because we just kind of like, and I think we had to, but we just kind of went for it. Like we didn't put a ton of research into it. We didn't spend a whole lot of time figuring things out. We were just like, you know what, if we're going to do this, we need to do it now before we like lose our motivation. And then we learned as we went. So that whole beginning was completely different from how we run our store now.
Yeah. I think with the founders, like especially in the beginning, there has to be this insane bias towards action, right?
Yeah.
Like you just have to go. When I started my first truck, it took me 18 months to go from 0 to truck 1. And that was way too long, right? I almost burned through all the cash we had just going from 0 to 1. And then when we went from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, you have to go quick because you burn through capital so quickly, right? All your working capital just vanishes. And so, that to me is super fascinating how you like just, basically full sent it.
Yeah,
I love
we had to. Yeah.
So what would you say, like, you said, you just said like recently, you're like, yeah, like that was like kind of like how we did at the beginning. Like today we don't do it like that at all. Like what has really changed for you guys, like going from like store 1 to store 9? And also like, what do you attribute to like the like speed of your guys' growth?
Yeah. To answer both of those questions, social media. A huge part of our story is about a month and a half after we opened. So again, February 1st was first day operational. I want to say around mid-March 22, we had a video go viral on TikTok with 15 million views.
Wow.
For the wrong reasons. People rightfully so hated what we were doing, and they were like, things like, why aren't you baking your mac and cheese? Or why does your chicken look like that? It's not seasoned well enough, or whatever, which, like I said, we didn't know what we were doing. So like, I totally agree with all those comments. It was rough in the moment because we were like, why are people hating on us? And that was also the first time that we'd ever gotten any views or comments outside of like our local community or people that we knew. So it was a little bit tough at first, but honestly, the biggest thing was my husband and I were like, you know what, we're getting free feedback from
that's so true.
Millions of people. Let's take advantage of this. And so we were like, you know what, people want us to bake the mac and cheese. We went out and bought an oven. Or they don't like this chicken, we're going to change it. So we were really lucky in the sense that we were able to get all of that feedback. As hard as it was in the moment, it helped tremendously and is a huge factor in why I think we're still successful. And that also is why we started to, look into expanding and franchising is when we started going viral, and especially when we made those switches and it kind of turned from negative to positive, we started getting comments and DMs of like, when are you opening here? Or, come to my state, come to my city, come to my country. And we were like, you know what, we need to ride this wave, but we don't have the means to grow as quickly as we want to and as quickly as people want us to. So that's when we looked into franchising. And it's all thanks to social media, honestly. That's been huge for our story.
Incredible.
So what's the experience with franchising been like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was wondering the same thing.
Oh man, it has its ups and downs. Overall, it's been life-changing. It honestly has. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. It's a lot of pressure. Like if you fail, like you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting these people who have poured everything into it. But at the same time, like we would not be able to grow anywhere near this quickly without it. So overall, I would say it's been really, really good for us, and genuinely changed our lives and our company. But yeah, I mean, like Jimmy, I know that you've done some franchising before. Like it's tough. It's hard.
Yeah.
But it's also really rewarding.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from people. Like, yeah, rewarding and also tough. But like most things in life that are like rewarding are also genuinely tough.
Yeah.
I mean, all the stuff you guys have been through, all the stuff I've seen, like Daniel, a lot of my other friends that choose to do like the restaurant thing, whether it's a food truck or a restaurant or like something like that, it's a different kind of like hard. But it's interesting how like franchising, if it's the right concept and you have your stuff buttoned down, like, and you're the right kind of human, like you're the right kind of person to do
Yeah.
it. It just allows you to raise operational capital
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much faster and more efficiently than you could,
Oh,
like
yeah.
even through the future. Because like each one of these people is not only giving you money to open a store because they're paying for it, they're going to pay you, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then also like you get free labor, like they're going to go and like execute on the plan.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing there, it hands down, like there's probably nothing to it, but then at the same time, there's pressure. And I don't know, you guys have probably felt that. You're kind of alluding to it. Like, what have you guys felt like a different sense of pressure as you've added franchisees where like you feel as though like you need to make sure they succeed? Or have you become like more aloof to it, or I guess like more logical, saying like, hey, they can succeed if they want to work really hard, but like not everyone's going to succeed. Like emotionally, like which way is it like kind of gone for you?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think mostly the first one so far. I think that especially when we first started franchising, we were really honestly like micromanaging and just like wanting to have control over every little thing.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have control over a lot. Like, as a franchisor, your job is to protect the brand. So there has to be definitely structure and control, but at the same time, I think we had to realize that like we're here to provide tools, and if someone doesn't want to use those tools, like we can't guarantee their success.
Right.
But as long as we're providing those things and we're being there and we're offering support, you can't force anyone to take that. But at the same time, like finding people and bringing on franchisees who you think will take advantage of those and who do have a vision that aligns with yours, I think is really important too. In the beginning, it was really hard to like say no to people who were like, here's a check for, tens of thousands of dollars. And having to say no to that is hard. But at the same time, long term, we have to bring on people that really align with our vision, and who we can trust and also who trust us. So, I think in the beginning, it was a lot more like controlling. But I think recently we've been able to let go of the reins a little bit and trust that they're going to do what they need to do, because we've also brought people on that we think will do that.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
So you mentioned, they didn't align with your vision, right? And they weren't
Yeah.
correct for your brand. What do you think, given where you're at now, what is that like long-term vision for Roni's? Is it going to be hundreds of units? Is it going to be some kind of a partial exit at some point? Like, where do you think that's going to land?
Yeah, right now it's all growth. I mean, our almost unrealistic goal is 1,000 stores in 10 years.
Nice. I love that.
And like, who knows if we're going to reach that? Obviously, it gives us something to work towards, but that's our goal right now. We've talked about exiting. We've talked about selling. I'm sure eventually that'll happen. Like, there's always a number.
Right. Everyone has it.
Yeah. But right now, that's not something that we see in that's not our goal necessarily right now. We really just want to grow Roni's as big as we possibly can. So that's kind of what we're working towards right now.
That's awesome. So have you had any franchisees that like have turned into like the perfect franchisee? Like, have you found anyone that like cares about the brands like you guys do?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I think there are definitely ones that stand out that were like, oh, if every franchisee could be like this, like we would be smooth sailing. I think it's almost like hiring an employee though. Like, you can have the most loyal employee in the whole world, but you're probably never going to find someone who cares about your brand as much as you do.
Yeah,
but you can get pretty close sometimes, So I think it's kind of a situation like that. And it's a little bit different with franchising too, because they do own their own store. So like they care a little bit more than like an employee probably would, but getting them to care about like the brand as a whole, I think there definitely have been some that are up there and that do genuinely like have passion for Roni's. So yeah, I wouldn't say like as much as, myself or my husband yet, but I definitely see us getting there.
I have a question about digital sales. So you guys are in the restaurant space. I'm sort of restaurant adjacent with food trucks.
Yeah.
Do you guys touch digital sales a lot? So we're talking Uber Eats, Postmates, Grubhub, even Gold Belly, right? Are you guys tapped into that, and how important is that for the success of the model that you're franchising to individual owners?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're on I think all of our stores are on DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub. And then we also have our own app too.
Interesting.
Integrated, I think, with Grubhub. So like if someone orders delivery on our app, it'll send them a Grubhub driver. The third parties, we see it as a marketing tool.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Like, is it profitable? Is it worth it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you do make money, but it's not going to be nearly as much as someone like ordering from you directly.
Right.
But we see it as marketing, where if they're on DoorDash, they're probably just looking for like anything. They're not necessarily searching for Roni's.
Right.
If they're searching for Roni's, they'll order on our website or on our app. But getting them to see us on DoorDash when they might not necessarily think about us otherwise, and then we throw in a card with third-party orders saying like, hey, order on our app next time and you'll get free delivery and a free garlic bread or whatever. So we just see it as marketing, really.
Yeah, so it's like a customer acquisition channel for you that you eventually use to resell to your own app, to your own website, and get them to kind of live in your ecosystem after that.
Yeah, convert them to like long-time customers, hopefully.
How successful is that? Like, is it a pretty good conversion rate that you find that like they go from one to the other?
Honestly, I don't know that number,
no,
but I would say like without knowing numbers, I would think, yeah, it's been as long as if we're actually keeping up with like throwing those cards in there,
right.
then it's pretty successful. If it's, I haven't been keeping up with it, or we've been out of stock on those for a while and haven't ordered more. It's pretty easy to like get lazy with it, but for the stores that do keep up with it, it's been pretty good.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I was curious about that because obviously we're, that same space where a lot of, if you're set up at a single location with a truck, a lot of digital sales are a big part of that equation, right? So
yeah.
That tends to be, that plus walk up is all you got, right? There's no seating. So
right.
It's very important. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and funny enough, most of our orders are takeout.
Interesting.
Like we have, seating. We even have like games in a lot of our stores. So that keeps some people hanging out, but most of them are takeout.
What is your average like square footage size? Like, are you under 1,000 square feet? Are you pretty small?
We're a little bigger than that. Most of our stores are around 1,500. Okay. We have some up to like 2,000.
Yeah.
So kind of in that middle range.
Yeah. And how many seats were in a store that size?
Maybe 20 to 30. Most of them have like a bar top facing the window that throws in several bar stools too. So that helps. Gotcha. Or some of them have outdoor seating as well, but yeah.
Nice.
It's like the size of maybe somewhere between like a Subway and a Chipotle.
Got it. Yeah. So that's that QSR kind of box you're shooting for. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, Mary, what advice would you give someone if they've like taken the leap, started their thing, maybe they got their first like restaurant open, like what advice would you give someone who was like considering franchising? Like, what would you tell them to look out for? Would you tell them there's a good idea, a bad idea? Like, how would you advise someone, I guess, now, like knowing what you know, like whether they should do it or not?
Oh man, if they should do it or not. I think if the demand is there, it can be really good. But if you don't already have the demand to grow, you're probably going to have to put a lot of money into it. I mean, it's changed our lives, like I said, but it's not necessarily for everyone. I think, I guess two different pieces of advice I could say. One is to make sure that everything that you do, you're asking yourself, is this scalable? From day one, as hard as it is to believe, considering the fact that like we didn't plug in any of our equipment until the day that we opened. Even with that in mind, we were always asking ourselves, A, is this efficient? And B, is this scalable? Not having any idea, how much we would actually grow, but just kind of like, if it's something that you're thinking about, start asking yourself those questions, start looking at your current processes, and just ask yourself, like, is this something that you could do in 100 stores? Even if you only plan to have 10, like if it doesn't work in 100 stores, then start making those changes. And then the second thing goes back to what I was saying about like being able to say no to someone who's trying to hand you a check. It's important to be really picky in my experience. And that's hard, but it's so worth it in the end.
Have you said no to anyone like in the beginning that you were like, I'm glad I said no? Or have you said no to anyone who you were like, fuck?
Yeah.
Have there been those moments?
Yeah, there's been both. There's one, actually, one of our current franchisees is one that we initially said no to, but it wasn't because of them. It was because of the location. Their location is the closest one to our home store in Waco. And we were just a little bit hesitant about opening one so close to home. It was like a 45-minute drive, maybe an hour. So initially we said no to them, and then we changed our mind. So that's worked out well. There have definitely been a lot that we've said no to, that we're glad that we did, honestly. Or there have been some that we're on the fence about, but we're like, you know what, if we're already starting to see red flags, and like it's gonna pop up way more, when they're actually signed on. So yeah. Usually it's related to location or finances, but there have definitely been some times where it's just like the vision's not aligning.
Yeah. I have a question about the product. So I'm a food guy.
Yeah.
I love food. So
Yeah.
you said originally, you had this negative feedback from this big blow up on TikTok. They were asking you questions like, why isn't it baked? Why is the chicken like this? So where did you land in terms of where you are now? Is it like a roux-based sauce that's a baked mac? Like where did you end up at the end of that?
Yeah, so it's all the cheese sauce is all made from scratch. So essentially the way that we used to do it, and it's still somewhat similar, but like it's all kind of in a line, sort of like Chipotle, right? So you've got your mac at the start, then you've got your cheeses, and you've got your toppings, your meats. So how we used to do it was like we would ladle the noodles in a bowl, then we would ladle the cheese over that, but like we wouldn't even mix the noodles and the cheese.
Wow.
So that was another thing that the comments were like, why don't you mix it? So, as small as that sounds, we do mix it now.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. A lot of the meats and the toppings are the same, but maybe better quality. For example, we used to use a lot of like canned veggies, and now they're all fresh, diced. Just like overall, just more kind of fresh ingredients. They all get a sprinkle of shredded cheese on top before they go through the oven, and then a nice like drizzle of barbecue sauce or whatever at the end. So still like definitely keeping in mind what's efficient, what's quick, what's easy, what's scalable, but at the same time like what's good.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and I think in the beginning we focus a little bit too much on just what's easy and not so much on what actually tastes good.
Sure. Yeah.
So now hopefully people think that it's both, which is great.
On the next viral video, people will be like, this shit is amazing. 12,000 comments.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's cool that you guys were able to use that feedback in like such a positive way. I mean, that might be like one of the like most obvious stories I've ever heard of like, we took this gigantic negative, because anyone out there that's listening that's like done anything, run a business, tried a thing where you get reviews, like your first negative review hurts really bad.
Oh yeah.
A viral bullshit on you hurts really, really bad. I remember the first time someone rated the food hall, a reporter from some newspaper rated the food hall in Nashville, and they ranked us like 2 stars. And I lost my shit on them on Twitter.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much. Like,
yeah, I remember like Do Re Mi's first 1-star Google. I cried in the middle of the grocery store. Like, it's tough. It's hard. Yeah.
It's super tough. But you guys were able to turn that, like the one that was probably the most tough, like Yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna not just get like one-star review, you're gonna get like the feedback of millions of people who are like, hey, we think your mac and cheese is trash. They haven't even tried it, by the way.
Yeah.
No, 95% of those people had never put it in their mouth. So they
Yeah.
don't even know if it's bad. And they're shitting on it anyways. But you guys
Well,
were
and that's the thing that helped us kind of look at the bright side is like as much negativity as we were getting, we had a line out the door because people were still coming because they were like, oh, it's viral, we want to try it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like they want to see if it really
really
is
that
as
bad,
bad as
right?
it looks. But people were coming in, so yeah.
Any press is good press at the end of the
Exactly.
day. Yeah.
I mean, like that might be like the coolest press I've ever heard of. Like
Yeah.
honestly, so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kudos to you guys for like taking it and turning it into a positive thing. Since then, have you guys had any other viral videos? Or just,
Oh
like,
yeah,
small
we
media presence?
yeah, we kind of learned pretty quickly how to ride that wave and then how to sort of make a formula out of videos. So right now, all platforms combined, we're at over 2 million followers. And we were also able to, that video went viral on TikTok. We learned how to duplicate that with some positivity sprinkled in.
Nice.
But we were also able to take that over to like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and start growing those following. So we have like a YouTube plaque now.
I saw that.
There you go.
That was
We have, I think, like 800,000 TikTok followers and then maybe like 300,000 on Instagram. So yeah, it's still, I mean, yeah, we post 4 TikTok / like Reels shorts per day.
Wow.
Okay, that makes me question like how do you guys make that content?
Yeah,
Like,
how do you create that volume of
so
content?
much of it. Because I'm
Yeah.
always so impressed by like actual restaurateurs who are like putting out not nonsense or like
Yeah.
crap, but it's like videos. Like
Yeah.
4 times a day. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. So the way that our videos work is it's all a video of us making a bowl. So usually like in first person view. So like either like a camera on your chest or like my husband has a Meta glasses now that he films with, but it's all first person view, making a bowl, putting the noodles, the cheese, the toppings. And while that is on the screen, we're telling a story. So it's like, this is the craziest order we've ever had, or this is the worst shift I've ever worked. Like usually funny stories like that. So I think the fact that all of our videos have the same formula makes it really easy to do it over and over because we don't have to put too much thought into like what's this video going to look like. We just have to put thought into what are the stories going to be. And so we have a team of 4 of us, which 2 people make videos. So they both do like 2 per day, I guess. But we'll all meet weekly and just like bounce ideas. It's kind of like being in a writer's room for a TV show, like literally bouncing ideas off of each other. Just like, hey, like an employee told me that this happened the other day. We should do a video on that. Or this is like a crazy bull that I thought of. We should do a video on this. Or someone commented this. Let's respond to that. So just, once a week going through, coming up with ideas, spending like 2 hours just like making a calendar for the next week and then just filming and editing.
Nice. Has AI become a part of this process at all? Are you staying away from it? Is it mixed into this workflow at all?
A little bit. We use AI in like 99% of areas
Really?
in our business. Like,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
I mean, we
Super
encourage
integrated.
our employees to use it. Like,
Yeah.
we've tried to have it help with like video scripts and stuff, and it just
Doesn't work.
doesn't perform well. But there are definitely a lot of areas where we love it. I mean, you can't avoid it
No.
much longer. So
Training it, you hear old video scripts. Like here's like the last 12 million videos we did, and like write something like this, or is it really just that?
oh,
bad?
that's a good idea. I don't think we've ever done that.
Please try it and let me know.
Yeah.
I'm so curious about like all the ways that people are able to use it, because
That's a good idea.
new thing like every day where people are like, yeah, I taught it how to like do this thing. Because a lot of what we're doing, a lot of people say that ChatGPT is a yes man. It definitely is, but I think that's because it's like trying to learn.
Yeah.
think it is attempting to learn as much as you're trying to learn. Because
Yeah.
every time I was using it in the beginning, I was trying to like learn something. And now I'm like, oh, it wants to learn from you. Like
Right.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Dude, try it.
Yeah.
Let us know how it
Good
goes.
idea. I love that. Yeah. But yeah, we use it constantly. Yeah.
What are other ways you use it? Like inside of like Roni's?
I always joke that like I can't think for myself anymore. Like literally I'll be like, oh, we're planning, a lot of it is like planning events. So like planning grand openings, or like we're planning a mac and cheese festival this fall. So I'll be like, what vendors should we have? Or like plan out the day. Um my husband uses it a lot for like technology, like, hey, our website's having this issue, fix it for me, and it'll like give the code or whatever, and it like works perfectly. Honestly, like literally everything, even just for like ideas,
Yeah.
like, hey, we want to come up with, um new marketing ideas, like what are some things that work well with this demographic, or things like that. So yeah.
Given that you guys are such a social first brand, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys spend on traditional advertising channels as well, or do you pretty much rely solely on content as the strategy that drives the sales?
Yeah, very little. They're like, I would say most of the time we don't have any paid ads going. It's all organic,
That's
but there are
fantastic.
definitely sometimes that we like want to push something specific.
Yeah.
We've never paid anything for recruiting franchisees yet. That's all been organic, but there are definitely some things like specific events or whatever that we'll put out a paid ad, but for the most part, it's all organic.
That's so cool. That is fantastic, especially with like newer, younger brands. A lot of people spend so much to try to get their sales. Yeah, it's wild.
Like blindly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just burning capital, just lighting it on fire.
Yeah.
It definitely starts to feel like inauthentic at a certain point also, when it's like you get everything from ads. This is definitely not permanent. But then when it's organic, it's like it's there, it's always been there, it always will be there.
Right.
That's so cool. I love that. Yeah, man. Okay, so I have one final question that I'm gonna try to start like asking everyone. Because I haven't done very many of these. So Mary, if you were to do it all over again, if you were to go back to 2019, 2020 and give your younger self some advice on like, here are the top 3 things that you should probably avoid. Or conversely, you could also approach it like this. What are the top 3 things you would tell yourself to do that you just didn't do until later that you know for a fact would have helped?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question. Okay. First thing that comes to mind. Honestly, I don't even know what comes to mind first. I guess the first thing is like, don't sweat the small stuff. Like if something doesn't work, like move on. And not in the sense that like you should give up on something, but just like there's a way to make it better, basically. Like don't keep trying to fight something that's clearly not working. Another one is like seek help, like ask for help, like look for mentors. I think my husband and I both used to kind of have a big ego where we're like, no one else has done it the way we're doing it. That's not true. Everything has been done by someone. So like look for a mentor, start networking, look for, seek advice, like start building those relationships early on. Because I think we didn't start looking for, people who are in the same boat as us until recently. And I think we would have been able to like grow even faster, or, whatever it may be, avoid mistakes, had we started seeking those relationships sooner. And number 3, I think just like live in, like have goals, but at the same time live in the moment, I guess, in a weird way. I used to think so often like I wish I just had a crystal ball because I just want to know if this is going to be successful. And I think right now is the first time that I don't really feel that way. Mostly I'm very confident that Roni's will be successful, which is a really good feeling. But like, have goals, but at the same time, like, don't stress too much about them. Like, just work hard and hope for the best. And like you'll find out eventually if it works or not, right? Like you can't jump ahead to the future, so like don't try.
Yeah.
I guess.
Dude, I absolutely love those answers. And like they all sound like the answers of someone who has been through some shit. So I love that for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, not sweating the small stuff is something I feel like you even like said like early on, like you alluded to, like sometimes you have to kind of know when like something's not working. And you also said you were like, I did Do Re Mi, and then when I did Roni's, suddenly like Roni's felt as though I wasn't like trying. You're like, I was doing things and they were just happening.
Yeah.
I feel similar. Like if you go to do a pivot in your business or you like try something new and suddenly something's working, sometimes it makes a lot of sense to just cut what's not and be like, this will work. Let's just do something that works. It's so much better. It's so much happier.
Yeah. Try different things and then see what works the best and like stick to that. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any long-term plans to do like a CPG product in the grocery store, or do you want to stay in the restaurant lane specifically mostly?
We've definitely thought about it. I think it would be really cool. So like my vision is to be in like the frozen meal section. Mind you, I haven't done any research or anything on like how I'm sure that's like really difficult doing frozen, but we thought about like obviously like boxed mac and cheese is huge, but we're like our big thing is like the toppings that we have and like so I think like frozen meals like mac and cheese with like brisket and barbecue or whatever would be super cool. So that's extremely preliminary. Who knows how far down the road that'll be, but I do think it would be cool.
Yeah, you have a good sense of what might work. Shout out Miles Foods, but also I think your guys' stuff would do great, and also I think it would be the biggest pain in your ass.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Don't make the mistakes I've made. Sorry, CPG. No, CPG is great. It's just a terrible way to make money. I mean, I think like frozen and refrigerated CPG. There's a reason the frozen aisle is so boring. I mean, an entrepreneur every day, you and Daniel both included, who have like incredible frozen products. Like they could be like really great. And I'm like, why don't these things exist? There are some structural reasons for it doesn't exist. Really dumb, by the way. Like slotting fees and people turning stuff over too fast and all kinds of just bad.
As of right now, it's definitely like a pipe dream that like may happen one day, but it's not anything that we're like working on right now or anytime soon.
When you go to do it, Mary, I will do it with you. Hit me.
Oh yes.
Abusing myself by opening CPG companies. Just be like, hey Jim, you want to hurt yourself again? Like,
there you go. Yep.
Sure. I'll watch the mac and cheese.
I love it.
That's so bad. No, I love that though. I mean, honestly, like I think my favorite entrepreneurs, like both you guys included, like they never stop thinking of cool ideas. You have a cool idea every week. You should try to kind of keep them at bay. But at the same time, like it's worked out so far for all.
Oh yeah, we have I don't know if you guys use Slack or know what it is, but we use Slack for our employees, like our corporate team, and we literally have a channel just called Wild Ideas, where it's like, our employees will throw ideas out there that they think of or that they saw another company do or whatever, and it's things that are like, I don't even know if this works, but like it's cool.
I love that.
So, and there have been several that like we've actually implemented. So, and it also like gets our team to be creative and like constantly thinking about how Roni's can improve. But yeah, just wild ideas, just like throwing anything and everything out there.
Hell yeah.
That right there is like the best advice I've been given on this whole podcast. New Slack channel right now. Wow.
Cool. No, do it. Like it's been so good. Just like even if they're things that we would never do in a million years, a lot of times it like sparks other ideas that like actually are good. So yeah.
I mean, such is the way of life. I mean, Daniel calls me on a regular basis and was like, hey dude, you know what would be really cool?
Harebrained ideas.
Hear this shit. It's some sort of wild restaurant idea.
Yeah.
You know this is bad. I have another friend of mine who actually might be a mutual friend of both of ours, Mary. Do you know Kyle Peters? He did like CPG stuff.
I don't think so.
There's like people on LinkedIn where I'm like, I wonder
Maybe.
if we're connected or see each other.
Yeah.
Kyle, he had an ice cream brand at one point. And he worked for Nestle. I think he currently works for Jack Links. And he texted me one day when we were going back and forth about this ice cream idea that I had. Thank God that I didn't do. I also texted you about that, Daniel. And then he sends me a video on why ice cream companies fail.
Yeah.
Dude. Anyways, like Kyle, like similar to that, he hit me up and he was like, you know, I have this idea. It would be like Crumble, but different. And he goes on to describe this like restaurant idea. He's got never done anything that's like brick and mortar like that before. What do you think? And I was like, do you like your sanity? Because it's not that great.
Yeah.
If you go about it the way you've done it, Mary, it's not that bad.
Right.
When we had our 9 stores, we owned 5 of them.
Mm.
One of my managers went to jail.
Oh,
That's not good. The manager in Cincinnati too. It's like that's the furthest away from Nashville.
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, February. Great month. Cincinnati a lot. The drive from Cincinnati to Nashville is not that bad. You'd be surprised. It's not terrible. You don't want to, but I mean, you're like in Texas though. Like everything's far apart.
Yeah.
You were like 45 minutes away, and I was like, that's not close.
Yeah.
I guess it is, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah. We opened a store in Lubbock, Texas, which is like up in the Panhandle, and it was like a 6 or 7 hour drive for us. It's like you would think it would be, you know,
the same.
nope. It's huge. Yeah.
That's absolutely wild. Okay, one final thing. Please tell everyone where they can find out about Roni. Obviously, tons of people already know, but I want them to know.
Sure.
And then where people can find out if they're interested in franchising. Like where should how they get in contact with you?
Yeah. Mostly our social media is where you can find us, just at Roni's Mac Bar on everything. Roni'sMacBar.com is our website. We have several stores in Texas, New Mexico, Utah, Missouri, Iowa, opening soon in Alabama. Franchising, just Roni'sMacBar.com/franchise. So that's the best spot to learn more about it, to apply. And yeah.
Love it. I love it so much. We actually wanted to start this podcast because I wanted to like help people start like restaurant ideas. And now I'm like, yeah, if you want to franchise or you want to get started and you don't know what to do, hit up.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't want to like have to put, I mean, it's a lot of work, but like if you don't want to do all the trial and error yourself, it's a really great option.
Yeah.
Like they could like, know to plug their stuff in.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yes.
You
We have
got
tested our equipment now, so you don't have to worry about that.
That's so cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was so fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.